Prologue. The Forgotten Prophecy. Since the dawn of time, 4 races had shared the lands of Aethermoor. From north to south, from east to west, across this ancient realm, humans, elves, orcs, and dragons, each following their own path, their own destiny, lived together. Humans had raised their stone castles in the Silver Plains. They were farmers, blacksmiths, merchants. A race with hearts forever burning, with the desire for more, never resting. Elves lived quietly in the depths of the moonlight forests. Grace and wisdom were their hallmarks. They lived for hundreds of years, heard the song of the stars, spoke the language of trees. Orcs had made their home in the dark caves of the Iron Mountains. They were strong, fierce, but honorable. They feared not death for their tribes, lived battle like a dance, and dragons. Ah, dragons. They dwelled in the sky peaks, above the clouds, upon the highest summits of the world. They were wise, powerful, their ages unknown to any. Some were 1,000 years old, some 10,000, and none interfered with the affairs of mortal races. But there was a prophecy, forgotten, buried in the earth, written in the ancient tongue from 1,000 years past. On the night when 4 moons align, the Starstone shall fall from the sky. Those who find it shall unite the 4 races, or destroy them all. And that night was approaching. Chapter 1. When the star fell winter, Silver Plains, human lands. Young, Kael stood watch in the highest tower of his castle. He was 17, his dark brown hair flowing in the wind, a torch in his hand, his eyes scanning the dark plains. He had lost his father 3 years ago in the border wars. Now he was the sole protector of his mother and little sister Elara. But another fire burned in Kael's heart. Adventure. Spending his entire life between these stone walls seemed unbearable to him. One day, he whispered to himself, "One day I will see what lies beyond these mountains." At that very moment, the sky blazed. It was as if a star was falling, but no. This was no ordinary star. Blue, green, purple colors mixed together, splitting the sky in 2, plunging toward Earth with a terrifying light. "A star!" Kael shouted. "Something's falling from the sky." The castle sprang to life. Guards rushed about, people looked out from windows. Lord Aldrich, Kael's master, emerged in his armor. "Where did it fall?" he asked. "North, my lord," said Kael breathlessly. "Near the border of the moonlight forests, I think." Lord Aldrich's face tensed. "Elf lands! Gods, this is not good." But within Kael was a voice calling to him. That Starstone. Whatever it took, he had to find it. Midnight. Moonlight forests. Elf lands. Elara had gathered her silver hair at the nape of her neck, walking silently through the forest with her bow slung across her back. She was the youngest and most talented of the elf scouts. She was 130 years old, considered young for elves. She had seen the light in the sky. Her heart had quickened. The ancient trees of the forest were whispering, a wave of concern rising from their roots. "The Starstone," she murmured. Could the prophecy be real? She had read this legend in the elven library, in forgotten books. Most didn't believe it, but Elara had always been curious. And now that stone had fallen. She began to run. Her silver shoes glided soundlessly over the leaves. The trees guided her, their branches curling, pointing to where the light had fallen. And then she saw it. In a small clearing, buried in the earth, among scorched grass, a glowing stone. The size of a fist, clear as crystal but with a light dancing inside. Blue, purple, gold. "Magnificent," Elara whispered. She was about to reach for it when she heard a sound. Footsteps, heavy steps, and that familiar scent. Human, the same moment, the same place. Kael had ridden his horse swiftly, crossed the border, plunged into the depths of the forest. He knew it was forbidden, but didn't care. That light, that call. He couldn't resist. He dismounted, raised his torch, and saw the clearing. and the stone there, and that elf woman. They both froze. "This stone is mine," said Elara, readying her arrow. "No," said Kael, drawing his sword. "It fell on human lands. It belongs to me." "It fell in the elven forest, foolish human." She fired 2 arrows together, and Kael swung his sword. The arrows spun in the air before hitting the stone, changed direction, and missed them both. The stone was glowing, brighter, brighter. And then everything turned white. Kael and Elara fell to the ground, their eyes closed. And in that moment, a voice echoed in their minds, ancient, powerful, resonating. "You have been chosen. One from each of 4 races. Protect the Star Stone, or everyone will die." The next morning, Kael awoke with a headache. The sun was striking his face. He got up, looked around. He was still in that clearing. And the elf woman was there too, a little ways away, slowly waking. And in the middle, on the ground, the Star Stone. Did you hear it too?" Kael asked. Elara nodded, her silver eyes astonished. "One from each of 4 races. This is the prophecy." Prophecy? Written in the ancient texts, a 1,000-year-old prophecy. Elara stood up, looked at Kael. "I am Elara, and it seems I must work with you." "Kael," said the young man, "and I suppose yes." They looked at the stone in silence. It was still glowing, with a calm light. "One from each of 4 races," said Elara. "You're human. I'm elf. We need an orc and a dragon." "A dragon?" Kael was surprised. Dragons haven't spoken to anyone in 1,000 years. "But the prophecy says so. Then we must find them." Elara reached out, took the stone. It was warm, trembling slightly in her hands. "Come, our journey begins." Chapter 2, The Chieftain of the Blood Clan. 3 days later, Iron Mountains. Orc lands. Kael and Elara had reached the foothills of the Iron Mountains. This was the homeland of orc tribes, savage, merciless, the nightmare of immortal races. "Entering here is suicide," said Kael. "We have no other choice," Elara replied. "We must find an orc." They climbed upward. Dark caves, black rocks, the smell of blood everywhere. Orcs ruled here. And then the attack came. 3 orcs burst from behind the rocks. Massive bodies, greenish skin, sharp teeth. They had raised their axes, roaring. Elara drew her bow, wounded 3 orcs with 3 arrows. Didn't kill them, just wounded them. Kael swung his sword, went on the defensive. But the orcs were strong. Kael stepped back, was about to fall, when an axe spun through the air and knocked away all 3 orcs' weapons. A female orc emerged from behind them. Tall, muscular, battle scars on her face. Her armor was bloodstained, her eyes like fire. "Enough!" she roared. "These 2 strangers are mine!" The 3 orcs immediately retreated, bowed their heads. This woman was a leader. "I am Grisha," said the orc woman, looking at Kael and Elara. "Chieftain of the Blood Clan tribe. And what are you 2 fools doing here?" Kael and Elara exchanged glances. Then Elara stepped forward, pulled the Star Stone from her bag. "This," she said. "We're looking for this. And I think we're looking for you too." Grisha's eyes widened. She looked at the stone, her breath caught. Is that the stone from the legend? The Star Stone?" "Yes," said Kael. "And the prophecy asks for one from each of 4 races. A human, an elf, an orc, and a dragon." Grisha laughed, a harsh, deep laugh. "A dragon? Good luck. Dragons haven't spoken to anyone in 1,000 years. But you must come," said Elara. "The prophecy is about you." "Me?" Grisha frowned. "How do you know?" Elara held the stone, touched it to Grisha's hand, and again that light exploded. Grisha staggered backward. The voice echoed in her mind. "Grisha Blood Clan, you have been chosen. Unite the 4 races, or destroy them all." The orc woman fell to her knees, breathless. She stood up, looked at Kael and Elara. "Damn," she said. "So this is real." "So?" Kael asked. Grisha slapped her axe onto her shoulder, grinned. "So we're going to find the dragons." Chapter 3. The Sky Peaks. A week later, the trio had reached the Sky Peaks, the highest mountains in the world, above the clouds, snow-covered summits. This was the homeland of dragons. The climb was difficult. Kael nearly fell several times. Elara caught him. Grisha never tired. Orcs were used to mountains. Finally, they arrived at a cave. Massive, dark, warm breath coming from within. "This is it," said Elara quietly. "A dragon lives here." "And it won't kill us, right?" Kael asked. "I don't know," said Grisha, "but we have no other chance." They entered. The cave was enormously vast. Glittering crystals hung from the ceiling. The walls were covered with gold and silver. And in the middle, on a huge pile, a dragon lay. Its scales were deep blue, decorated with silver streaks. Its wings were folded, its eyes closed. But it was breathing. Slow, deep, powerful. "Is it awake?" Kael whispered. "I'm sure of it," said Elara. And at that moment, the dragon opened its eyes. Golden in color, bright, infinitely deep eyes. It raised its head, looked at the trio. "Humans," it said in a deep voice, a magical voice echoing in their minds. "Elf. Orc. For the first time in 1,000 years, mortals have come to my cave, and I'm sure you have good reasons." Elara stepped forward, raised the stone. The star stone, the prophecy. The dragon's eyes gleamed. "Ah, that prophecy!" It stood up, massive, magnificent, grand. It spread its wings. The cave brightened. "I am Zephros. I am 1,200 years old. And yes, I am aware of that prophecy." "Then," Grisha asked, "will you join us?" "Join?" Zephros laughed, a sweet, musical laugh. "Little orc, I was already waiting for you. I felt it when the starstone fell. The time of the prophecy has come." Kael was surprised. "You were waiting?"
1,000 years, said Zephros. "I waited 1,000 years. Because I knew. One day, 4 chosen ones would come. And together, they would change destiny." "And what is destiny?" Elara asked. "What exactly does the prophecy say?" Zephros took a deep breath. "The Starstone is an ancient power. Powerful enough to unite the 4 races. But at the same time, dangerous enough to destroy the 4 races. If the wrong hands touch it, if evil seizes it, everyone dies." Silence fell. "And what is evil?" Kael asked. Zephros's eyes darkened. "The Shadow Lord. 1,000 years ago he was a sorcerer. He went mad for power, dabbled in dark magic. He turned the 4 races against each other, started wars. He was finally defeated but didn't completely die. His soul was imprisoned in a dark cave. And now, when the Starstone has fallen, he will awaken." Kael swallowed. "So, we're not just protecting the stone. We're also going to fight the Shadow Lord?" "Yes," said Zephros. "And if we lose, the 4 races will remain enemies forever. Wars, blood, death. It will never end." Grisha placed her hand on her axe. "So what must we do?" "We must take the stone to the Lost Temple," said Zephros. "That is the sacred place of the 4 races. In ancient times, the 4 kings would come there, sign peace treaties. If we can take the stone there, reunite the 4 races, the Shadow Lord's power will be broken." "Where is the Lost Temple?" Elara asked. "In the south," said Zephros. "In the middle of the red deserts. But the road is dangerous. The Shadow Lord's creatures will follow you. Dark magic, monsters, traps. Survival will be difficult." Kael, Elara, and Grisha looked at each other. "We're ready," Kael finally said. Zephros nodded. "Good. Then we leave at dawn. And you'll fly on my back." Chapter 4, The First Shadow. The next day, in the sky. Flying on a dragon's back was more magnificent than anything Kael had ever imagined. Zephros' scales were soft, his wings powerful, and as they glided through the sky, the world below grew smaller. "This is incredible," Kael shouted. Elara smiled. "Your first time flying?" "Yes." Grisha sat in the back, sharpening her axe. "I still find this strange." They were flying south. Mountains fell behind, plains, rivers, forests. And then the deserts began, red, hot, endless. "How far to the lost temple?" Elara asked. 2 days, said Zephros. "But first we must solve a problem." "What problem?" Zephros looked down. "We're being followed." Kael turned around and saw them. In the sky, dark shadows. Flying creatures, winged, clawed, red-eyed. "The Shadow Lord's servants," said Zephros. "Nightshade creatures. They're fast, merciless. And they want to kill us." "How many?" Grisha asked. 12. Kael drew his sword. "Get ready." The creatures approached. Shrill screams, extending their claws. Zephros turned, opened his mouth and breathed blue fire. The first 3 creatures burned, fell. But the others attacked. Elara drew her bow, shot 4 arrows and hit 4 creatures. Grisha threw her axe, it struck a creature's head. When a creature dove at Kael, he leaped, plunging his sword in. The creature screamed, turned, tried to throw Kael off, but the young man held on, drove his sword deeper. The creature fell. 3 remained. Zephros breathed fire again, burned 2. Grisha shattered the last creature with her axe. Silence. "Is it over?" Kael asked, breathless. "For now," said Zephros. "But more will come. The Shadow Lord has awakened. He'll do everything to stop us." Chapter 5. The Red Deserts. 2 days later. They landed in the desert. Hot sand, scorching sun, endless red horizon. Zephros couldn't walk, too large, the sand was too heavy for him. He soared in the sky, watched the trio from above. Kael, Elara, and Grisha walked. Thirst, exhaustion, heat. But they continued. "How much farther?" Grisha asked. "Close," said Zephros from above. "The temple will appear at sunset." Hours passed. The sun began to set. And then they saw it. On the horizon, a golden light. A building, massive, ancient, magnificent. Columns, domes, carved stones. The lost temple. "There it is," Elara whispered. They ran. A sandstorm began, but they didn't care. They reached the temple, entered through the door, and froze. The temple interior was dark. But in the middle, on a stone, a black shadow stood. Human-shaped but not human. Red eyes, long claws, a dark soul. The Shadow Lord. "I was waiting for you," he said in a deep, cold voice. "You brought the stone. How kind." Elara tried to hide the stone, but it was too late. The Shadow Lord extended his hand, sent a wave of power. The stone flew from Elara's hand, fell into the Shadow Lord's grasp. "No!" Kael shouted. The Shadow Lord laughed. "I waited 1,000 years. And now, I will enslave the 4 races forever." The stone glowed, but this time with a dark light. Evil, sickening power. "Stop," said Zephros, entering and growing larger. "Release the stone." "Dragon," said the Shadow Lord. "Even you cannot stand against me." Zephros breathed fire. The Shadow Lord created a wall, deflected the fire. Then he attacked Zephros, sending dark spears. Zephros dodged, but his wings were wounded. He fell to the ground. "No." Kael rushed forward, raised his sword. Attacked the Shadow Lord. The Shadow Lord pushed Kael back. Grisha came with her axe, Elara shot her arrows. But none of it worked. "Fools," said the Shadow Lord. "The stone is now mine. And I." But at that moment, something happened. Kael, Elara, Grisha, and Zephros all 4 reached for the stone at the same time. Their hands touched each other. And a light exploded, gold, silver, blue, red. The stone flew from the Shadow Lord's hand, stood in the middle of the 4. And that voice echoed again, but this time stronger, clearer. 4 races, united. 4 hearts became one. Shadow Lord, you have now lost your power. The Shadow Lord screamed. His body began to dissolve, dark smoke dispersed. No, this cannot be. Yes, said Kael. This is what happens. And the Shadow Lord vanished. Silence. The stone fell to the ground, no longer glowing. Calm, peaceful. Kael, Elara, Grisha, and Zephros looked at each other. We did it, said Elara, smiling. Yes, said Grisha. We did it. Underscore 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 underscore. Epilogue: A New Age. A month later, the Lost Temple. The leaders of the 4 races gathered. The human king, the elven queen, the great orc chieftain, and the eldest of dragons. All were at the Lost Temple. And Kael, Elara, Grisha, and Zephros were there. 1,000 years ago, said the human king, we 4 races lived in peace. Then the Shadow Lord came, turned us against each other. But now, thanks to these 4 heroes, we unite again. The elf queen stood up. We sign a treaty. Wars are over. Friendship has begun. The orc chief smiled. Our swords will no longer rise against each other, but against common enemies. The dragon elder nodded. And these 4 chosen ones will always be remembered as the saviors of the 4 races. Kael, Elara, Grisha, and Zephros stepped forward. The crowd applauded, cheered. We only did our duty, said Kael humbly. No, said the elf queen. You saved the world. And from that day forward, peace reigned in the lands of Aethermoor. Humans, elves, orcs, and dragons all lived together, worked together. Kael returned to his castle. But he was no longer the old Kael. He had seen adventures, made friends, proven his courage. He knew that one day he would become a great leader. Elara returned to the moonlight forests. But she was no longer just a scout. She was her people's hero, a legend. Her story would be told for centuries. Grisha returned to the Iron Mountains. Her tribe celebrated her, showed her respect. She was no longer just a chief, but also an ambassador of peace. And Zephros. Zephros returned to the Sky Peaks. But he was no longer alone. His 3 friends visited him, spent time together. The Star Stone remained at the Lost Temple. Guardians of the 4 races watched over it, never allowing it to fall into evil hands. And the prophecy had finally been fulfilled. 4 races united. The Star Stone protected. Peace came. And everyone lived happily. Underscore 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 underscore. The last night, Kael's dream. That night, as Kael slept in his castle, he had a dream. In his dream, the Starstone was glowing. And that ancient voice whispered once more. Kael, Elara, Grisha, Zephros. You 4 have changed history. But remember, this is just the beginning. More adventures, more dangers await you. But fear not. Because unity overcomes everything. Kael awoke smiling. He looked out the window, up at the sky. The stars were shining. I'm ready, he whispered. Whatever comes, I'm ready. And the wind carried his voice to the lands of the 4 races. Peace reigned. But adventure never ended. Additional chapter, the Spring Festival. 3 months later, Silver Plains. Spring had come, and the leaders of the 4 races organized the first festival together. In the Silver Plains, flowers had bloomed, music was playing, people were dancing. Kael, Elara, Grisha, and Zephros, in human form, magically shrunk, sat together, drinking wine. This is incredible, said Kael. 3 months ago we didn't even know each other. And now, said Elara, we are the closest of friends. Grisha laughed. Who would have thought that a human, an elf, an orc, and a dragon could get along so well? Zephros smiled. The prophecy knew. Destiny knew. The music rose. Dancing began. Humans, elves, orcs all dancing together. Kael stood up, extended his hand to Elara. Will you dance? Elara smiled. Why not? The two went to the dance floor. Grisha and Zephros joined them. The four moved to the music, enjoyed themselves, laughed. And that night, the stars seemed brighter. As if the sky was celebrating too. Because peace had finally come.